Hi, welcome to Florida Capital T. My name is Anna Marie, and I'm sitting down with Tom today. Can you say your last name for me?
Tome Derzypolski.
Thank you.
Derzypolski, yes.
So we're here to talk about his candidacy for City Commission seat
Three
3.
cities, yeah. The big race.
The big race.
I think everybody's in it. I have 49 candidates.
Yeah, everyone's in it.
It's interesting.
Every time I look, there's someone joining that race, though. This is definitely the big race of this election cycle.
It's an important seat. I think people see that, and there's a lot of really great people in this race too. Awesome. Good folks.
So I attached his link to the comments down here. So if you wanted to go check out his website, feel free to do that. But without any further ado, let's get into it.
Let's roll.
All right. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Tom?
Who's Tom? Well, it's interesting. The thing I'm most proud of being is the husband of Stephanie. She brings great joy in my life. And then I'm a father of 3 kids. I have a 30-year-old daughter who's married. I have 2 grandkids from that situation, which is beautiful. And then I have a 16-year-old son that goes to Leon High School, and I have a upcoming 8th grader.
Okay.
And so being a husband and a father are my favorite things to be. And that really defines, a lot of my priorities and in part why I care so much about Tallahassee and want to see it be a better place.
Yeah, for sure. And you have a wide range of generations there, right? Like you 6, 7, all the way up to.
When I say 6, 7 around the boys, they're like, they're like, y'all started it. I didn't come up with this stuff. No, I do. So, and I have a 10-year-old granddaughter, right? So.
Yeah.
My daughter got married young and started her family young. Very interesting. Her and my son-in-law Ryder were the first 6th grade class at Montford Middle.
Oh, cool.
And so they were the first ones to go all the way through the program.
Wow.
And that they were 12 years old when they met and fell in love and were like Romeo and Juliet. These two were sneaking out at night and all kinds of trouble and giving us heartache. And but I love them. And you're like, this never lasts. And
it has.
Here we are. They're 30 years old. They have a beautiful home just in South Georgia. And I got great. They all stayed the night last night. So we did a campaign photo shoot of like family,
Yeah.
And so we were all piled up on the couch. And this morning was pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. That sounds like so much fun. It's like taking you back and then you add on to it.
Too.
Oh,
so, yes. Yeah. It's the coolest.
Oh, wow. Okay. So I did see on your website where it says, Hey Tom section.
Sure.
I actually thought that was a really creative idea.
Yeah.
That is like, because as soon as I saw it, I connected to it, right? I saw the Hey Tom, and I was like, hey, do I have a question for Tom?
No, that's great.
But again, if you wanted to check that out, you can check out the link in the comments here, and then you can go check out that Hey Tom section too. But what inspired that idea, and is this something that you would continue once you got elected?
Absolutely. What I've said in some of the videos is, I want you to see how I'm going to connect with you and how I'm going to lead. In all the time, I would rather roll out of a commission meeting that people couldn't make because they were at work. You can, of course, view it at the City of Tallahassee's YouTube and all the social media channels. But I'd rather the people who want to know what's going on from a straight shooter to just come out and say, hey, here's what we did tonight. And when there are some things that might create anxiety in the community, like the transfer of a hospital or a golf course or annexing thousands of acres or whatever the issue of the month is, I always want people to know where I am. Even if it's that I'm undecided, I'm in a period of discovery. Like, I want you to know I don't have an opinion on this yet. I've heard from a few groups. I'm beginning my connection with the community. And I think it's important that you leave City Hall and go sit in cafes and sit on front porches and sit and talk to the people that it affects so that you really understand. Yeah. So the Hey Tom piece was an example of how I would like people to connect with me and know that if they don't have time to read minutes, if they don't have time to read a 3-page Facebook post, they can kind of always roll over to my Facebook page and watch a video, and what they're going to hear is straight shooting on where I am.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
It's been fun.
I feel, because I do feel like the communication has been kind of one of the big issues that keeps coming up.
Sure.
With a lot of our neighbors. I hear all the time about, I reached out, I didn't get a response back, or.
Me too. Yeah. It is frustrating when there's something important going on. I believe the government closest to the people is among the most important bodies there are, because You're going to see them in Publix. You're going to see them in the park. You can park downtown and walk in the building and address them face to face and demand accountability. And that is so important that, for people to feel like there's a disconnect or they're not able to. I mean, I've emailed all the commissioners before, and you hit 5 of them and you get 1 or 2 back. And I've got 1 or 2 from the 3 and 1 or 2 from the 2, but largely they go unresponded to. And I think when that's an issue, and I think that's a way to easily do better as an elected official. But the next thing I would say is when big decisions are being made, communicate early and often. And don't let rumors take place. Don't let backroom chats and deals occur. Bring it out to the people, because the people are going to show up. There's no sneaking by the people of Tallahassee. They don't like it. You shouldn't try it.
And our neighbors pay attention.
Oh, yeah.
They really pay attention.
They know what's going on. And even the perception of that, I think, is damaging to our trust in our elected officials in the process. And our history in Tallahassee is just littered with, examples of that. So I would also tell you that I would encourage folks when they're following me, because I tend to, is don't let your first step be fear. I'm very curious as an individual, and I might hear something, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. What would that mean? What would the impact on our energy cost, on our environment, on our water? And I enter into a period of really deliberate study so that I can understand it. And what I would say is when a subject like that comes up in an election year, parties use it as a weapon. So when you generate fear and anxiety, it usually brings out the worst in us. I know when I'm angry or afraid, I'm not always behaving the way I wish I would be behaving. And you don't have a clear mind. So I always just want to have a clear, sober mind and look at things factually, and then make just steady, straight decisions.
And since you brought up the data center, have you done any research yet on data centers? Have you found anything that's...
Yeah. So here's what I can kind of talk about that. It is so rapidly emerging, AI as a technology and a demand on data centers, that I had a meeting in South Florida and drove back, and I had 6 hours in the car. And I intentionally sought out 6 podcasts that covered why they're so great, and 6 podcasts or 3 hours worth of podcasts that covered why they're so bad. I also watch the news like that. I pivot between channels because everybody's putting their spin on things. And what I've found is that there are some very serious things to consider with regard to energy costs and environmental considerations. So I'm glad to see that it appears to be as though we're going to put a little bit of a moratorium on this so that really thoughtful study can take place, and so that the public can watch Hey Tom videos and say, hey, this is what I learned today, and we could go through that together.
Because none of us really have all the answers right away. We all have to do a little bit of research and find out that information. So it's kind of nice to bring the community in as you're discovering that information.
Sure. I'll tell you, it's really popular. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody, clipped some of this and used it and said, he's for, he's against. I would be suspicious of anybody that just has like a hard stance on it. The experts will tell you that it's rapidly evolving. The industry is finding ways to reclaim the water it uses so that it's not draining aquifers. They're finding a way to use AI to scale demand on the power grid so that the data inputs that are instant take place during the day. But if you're a big company that processes transactions in the evening, as an example, AI moves that when we're all asleep. So we don't put those, but those are just 2 examples of maybe how it could be more environmentally friendly, help control costs. And then there's like a ton of reasons that it concerns me and scares me. And I'm skeptical about the jobs it actually creates, so it should be discovered.
Yeah, and I think that you said it yourself, the moratorium on it, where we're going to just pause and we're going to let more information come out. I think that that's just that's a great way to move forward with these things. If we don't have a lot of information, that pause is, that's the kind of wisdom speaking there, right? That pause of, hey, let's get more information.
You've heard, I'm sure, but people are often like, why do we go so fast? Why did this happen so quickly? I didn't have a chance. I would say I agree. Well, how in the world they say, well, it's taken a year. We've studied this for a year. We looked at it for a year. But during that period, there was very little public engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I'll pause and say, you also have to be engaged. So you can't show up at the last meeting after there were 8
Mm-hmm.
and try to stop something or support it. Like, public engagement and being an engaged citizen. I'm doing hard work. I'm campaigning, I'm walking, I'm trying to raise money, I'm trying to get elected, I'm enjoying time like this with you. And I'll go to all the meetings and do all the work, but I need the public to stay engaged. Because if we go through this very thorough process and after very careful consideration decide that it's not appropriate for our community, citizens are going to be wearing their t-shirts in the audience that we're job killers, that we're, liberals and progressives. And I'm like, I've never seen any of your faces in a meeting in a year.
Yeah.
And it's like, stay engaged, stay informed. So I think that's important too.
Yeah.
We have a responsibility.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are actually where your company is right here.
Yes.
And so many neighbors are aware that you have a communication company or a company involved in marketing.
Sure.
They have expressed a lack of communication from the city, which we kind of got into that a little bit with that communication. But do you have any plans to remedy that on like a city level? Because I know on a commissioner level, one-to-one, but is there any kind of like thoughts for like how the city can remedy that?
I'll tell you a few things about the city. At the employee level, I'm not sure whether you go from the city manager and assistant managers and it's like below them, but at the department level, the gentleman that was out painting my fire hydrant this week was a professional guy, man. Nicest can be. Good morning, sir. How are you? Did great work. Fixed the plants back how they were. The communications department manages a great website. They put communications in our utility bills that nobody reads. They send e-blasts. You can sign up for alerts. I think we get high marks in many areas, but there is room for improvement. And I think, we utilize social media. We're streaming our meetings and such. Yeah. But I think we could do a better job of communicating the hot issues. And then also, I'm sure you've seen them around town, but if they're going to rezone an area or somebody's putting in for a variance, like a big white sign with a letter on it and then jargon that you have to be a planner to understand. I'm joking, but like plain language. And why can't we have more information on an agenda? It's like, considering the ratification of Statute 422 modified on this date, accordance to, and I think what they're saying is they're going to open the pool earlier in the spring. Can't we just say we're going to open the pool earlier in this, Yeah. And a few governors
so
ago.
maybe have like a plain language and then like a technical language or whatever.
And executives, people operate differently. My business partner, Kelly, will read the 3-page email, and I need 5 bullets at the top. I'm not going to make it through the 3 pages. We all are built and have different gifts, and so I think we need to present information in bite size, the full story, video, sign language, whatever it is that you need. And one of the governors a few years ago initiated what was called the Plain Language Initiative. And when I do work for like Department of Transportation, Department of Health, any of these agencies where we do public awareness to say, hey, get in your seatbelt, 8th grade reading level, so that everybody in the state has an opportunity to consume and understand this important information, regardless of really their level of literacy. So there is room for improvement, but I'm also really proud of so much of what Tallahassee does. Our city employees are bang up, man.
They're the best,
responders
right?
oh yeah. My air conditioner went out today, and this is the third one, like the third time I've had a problem with it in a month, and I think it's finally dead. And we have a program in the city where you can apply and they help buy your air condition. And then they just add it on. You pay it back in full. It's not a grant, but you pay it back to your utility bill. So rather than spending $10,000 today, they tack it on. And that's important to family. Those kind of programs are incredible. But you fill out the form online, and then within 45 minutes, a response. And then boom, here's your appointment time. Really and then boom, here's a link if you need to change it. And then I got a text message reminding me that next Tuesday I'll be seeing them down in Frenchtown at the office. I thought, we've got really so much to celebrate. We need an elected body that can share that story and work together and build a vision together and move us all forward. When I'm knocking on doors, I hear optimism. I hear love of Tallahassee. They're not mad. The people are mad at the people many of the people that are bickering with one another.
Mm-hmm.
But we're out here loving our community, and we want to see it prosper. We want to see, like, let's get over this. And the word I keep hearing is enough.
Mm-hmm.
Enough already. And enough to you might mean enough of the 3. And if you're somebody else, it's enough of the 2. It's enough of utility costs. It's enough traffic. It's enough development, you know.
Yeah.
But people just feel like they've kind of had enough. So I'm going to try to get in there and remedy that a little.
Find like a little bit of a middle ground for everybody.
Yeah.
And I've heard you say during your campaign that you're not like a guaranteed third vote for anybody. And so is that kind of part of your tactic, is to just go in there and play this neutral, like, look at the information? You don't really have a preconceived notion of a side that you're on or anything like that?
I'll tell you, people I admired the way they govern. Bill Montford, Mark Mustian, I think did a great job. They're both mentors of mine. They're friends of mine. Respect them very much. And I want to just get up there and govern with a steady hand. There's not an IOU. I don't have an allegiance to anybody except the people of Tallahassee that send me there to serve. And what I've always wished was that if this individual looks down the dais and sees what they might consider an opponent, which they should see as like a partner in governance, at some point, half the people of Tallahassee sent that individual there. They're not a rogue. It's not a rogue 3 or rogue. Like, individually, the citizens said, we'd like you to go govern, and we should respect that. And so maybe my position's here and yours is there, but I need to find a way to work with you so that we can both satisfy the electorate.
And I think what I notice a lot of is that lack of conversation and willingness to move towards a middle ground, right? Yeah. A willingness to say, well, hey, you really want this and I really want this. What about if we find out more information about this aspect of it, and kind of like working together to kind of work towards that middle ground of, you know.
You know what's interesting? The sunshine laws are critical to the way we govern. You know, things need to be done very much in the open. But then people also have to be comfortable in their own skin and speaking freely in the open. They don't need to posture and poise and grandstand their positions. Like, I have to be comfortable saying, you know, Diane, I don't know that I totally understood what you just said. And I'm sorry, will you walk me through that again? I'm trying to track you. I'm trying to follow you. I want to get on board with this, but I'm not quite there. Help me help you.
Yeah.
In the meeting, be vulnerable. Say you don't understand and you want to look through it, or you need some more time. And again, I think people would like to know the decisions weren't made before the meeting. You know, when you go in, and I've sat there before with an opinion on things, and I'm like, everybody goes up and has their moment to engage in public speak, and it comes time to vote, and you're like, yep.
Exactly.
What did we come here for?
Yeah.
You know? Do you hear the people of Tallahassee? Do you see the number of people here? Do you see I'm sure they do see the emails that come in. If they pay attention to social media at all, they can get a good pulse for sort of where things are.
I've connected through the page with a lot of people who have had that experience.
Right.
Where they're like, okay, well, I went and I spoke at a meeting, and this is what was my experience. You know,
Sure.
I didn't want these trees cut down, or I didn't want, you know, to see whatever. And a lot of people, you know, we're actually connecting over the fact that, you know, we go to these meetings and then no one's really being heard.
I think that also opens the door. If you push people away, it opens the door for more fear and more extreme ideas. Like, where you're starting to move out to the ends of spectrum where nobody really lives. Yeah. You know, we're all over here drifting around somewhere in the middle, and then that's not good policy. Yeah. You know, I think you have to balance things out. But I think it's not being arrogant, being a little bit vulnerable, being okay saying, you know, I don't know that I have enough information on this. It might be me. Somebody might have to explain it again slower. But I want to get here with everybody, but I just am concerned about what this means to our neighborhoods or to our economy or to our budget. Yeah. And then also, I'll tell you, we might be facing some tough budget times. So how hard is it? I would put my volunteer service up against any other candidate here, like 25 years on multiple boards the whole time, coaching Little League, Red Cross School. The list is long. And I don't say that because that like makes you cool. I say that to say I've got a lot of relationships. So how do I look at people I know love, say the visual arts, and they're there and they're looking for funding on something, but it's just not in our budget. That I have art I want in my house. I mean, I've been to the galleries. I'm like, man, that would be awesome. But then I look at my utility bill and I look at buying groceries and I look at the cost of gasoline and I look at the cost of life and taxes and everything. And I'm like, I sure love to have that, but I can't have it right now. I'm not, people in the arts community love me and know me, so I'm not anti-arts. That's a bad example. I had to pick something. But, you know, it's sometimes have to look at folks and say, man, you know, not right now. We got to get a few things straightened out.
Yeah.
So that takes a little bit of courage because you're going to disappoint friends. But I really feel if you talk to, now maybe not you because you have, you know, like a journalism perspective, but if people that know who you were, you're just sitting at a bar having a beer and said, you know, if Tom gets elected, can you govern with him? There's not a person in any race or sitting there now that says, this going to say, oh no, that would be horrible. They'll say, I can. He's reasonable. I can get that done. So I think that's a good thing, in particular in this seat, because I don't know where the chips are going to fall. I don't know who's going to be the mayor. I don't know what this three thing is going to look like. I do know I have a candidate that wants to fortify it, and I have another one that wants to flip it. And what I'm just kind of saying in all the forums is, why don't we not do any of that? Let's not, because I believe if the only way I can get anything done is by just sheer force, I get to host meetings where people come and talk, but it's just the next three getting their way. They're like, thank you. Time to vote. 3, 2.
Yeah. And
people are just sick of that. And you will hear people push back that are, I have respect for the people who are serving right now. I do. And they'll give you stats like, you know, we made, you know, 4,900 motions last year and 98% of them were 5-0. Well, it's like, you know, consent agenda items and the proclamation for the Little League team. Of course. 5. Nobody cares about those votes. You know, it's
those are the big ones.
Yeah,
That's not the hospital.
Like, why don't we talk about the budget? Why don't we talk about the hospital? Why don't we talk about the these major issues? That's what fires people up. And I listen. I was disappointed when they shut down the public speaking unagended items. I couldn't even believe it. I was like, if you're tired of sitting there, if the evening is long, if it's going on, if you think that there's just malicious people trying to attack, and you cannot handle that, then I think that you should find something else to do. Yeah. Because that's part of the job.
I agree.
We brought up the commission in this last meeting brought up this important issue of annexation of this 1,700 acres. And they started by saying, you know, we're going to do this, but just a heads up, the mayor's no public comment. Like, what?
Yeah.
This would be one of the largest land deals in our city's history. And from go.
And people should be able to step up at the very beginning, in the very first meeting.
And moment one, second one, no. What in the what is the message we even send? And again, I'm sorry if it's getting late or we've got to get to dinner or whatever's happening. If that's the case, then you know you shouldn't be serving. And I just think that's the kind of stuff that people hear and they say, I can't believe it. You know? Yeah.
So you're definitely for extending that back, voting for extending it back out.
For
the public speaking, so that because I mean,
Sorry, I didn't know if it was a particular issue. I want to make sure I'm saying. Day one, like fully, yes, not, and until we're done.
I mean, that's actually one of my favorite things is because I mean, we hear from so much of the community.
Yeah.
There's things that I've learned from speakers that I was like, I did not realize.
I sat through some of these major issues and I heard this PhD get up there and say something about access to care. And I was like, I didn't know that research was done. And I guarantee you that people on the dais were like, really?
Yeah.
Because who knows? I mean, you need to be enlightened.
There's been a lot. There's been a lot of speakers that I had no idea that certain things had, you know, a lot of the PFAS, right?
Sure.
The PFAS chemicals and all of that. That's
that's
Wasn't
that fascinating? And how they're tracking it down with water samples in Woodville Is it coming from the
It
landfill?
was like, I think it was like 2 years ago that someone came and spoke
Yeah.
at the meeting, and I was like, oh, let me get out my pen.
Like, come on. Could you spell P? Is that P? And then could you?
Like fast, like run fast?
Yeah. It would be funny to see everybody's notes when they're learning new things. They're like, what? Well, yeah, those are absolutely. And I would say too, and listen, I'm not a politician. I've never been an elected official. From a procedural perspective, I have some things to learn. I think everybody does when you get in that position. But I would also like to explore: what happens if you have more frequent commission meetings? If you have them at a different time of the day, what would that do to public engagement? The reason I say I think it's a good idea, but operationally it might be impossible. There may be some ordinance that say, hey, Tom, the problem is you have to public notice the items so many days in advance, and the next meeting would fall within that window, and sometimes you're deciding something. Like, it may be clunky and not work, but the whole objective would be, how could we get more people to be able to participate?
Well, because some people can't even make it to the meetings. Like, I think that's one of the really big issues is people coming from work trying to make it to these meetings by a certain time to be able to speak on something. And so even thinking creatively about how to do that.
I will tell you as a commitment that I will spend my own money out of my salary from being a commissioner. There's a great room just down from the chambers. When you go around the bathrooms, there's some big rooms in there. And identify how we can get a child care partner or staff, Parks and Rec, people who've been already qualified with background checks. And I'll bring in Gain Street pies. I'll buy Jeremy's pizza, and we'll fill that room up with pizza. And we might be able to do some tutoring and some homework. They can watch cartoons.
Yeah.
There's lots of, our arts community might step up and do a little lesson.
And cool.
Mom and dad can be in the commission meeting over this issue that they really care about. And just outside the door, right there, their kids would be, safe. That is a family-friendly environment. That says we care. We want to hear from you.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's somebody in my race, I think, or another race, did a video of the county entrance to the chambers, couches, lounge-like, looking at, and how we're not really inviting. We don't want you sitting around out there just, don't.
Here's the door.
Can we take some of these seats out of here? So I'll make a commitment to finding ways to, invite families into that environment and have them participate. And I'll tell you what, our experience with the Department of Education when we're doing literacy programs and we need parents to show up after school to a public library or at a community center to learn some basic reading strategies. If you say we're having a reading workshop, they're like, yeah, no thanks. It's like we're having a pizza party for your kids. And there's going to be arts and crafts. At the end of the workday, these are working families. I mean, I don't know how many times a night, how many times a week you get home, and if you're a single parent, God bless, it's on you. But even if you have a partner in your life, you look at each other and you go, do you feel like making dinner? And you're like, no. And then you go out and spend money you don't have, or you throw something together.
Yeah.
We've had bowls of cereal at dinner time are a real thing in our house. And I'm like, boys, get a bowl of cereal. I'm tired. But anyways, I know we're kind of all over the place, but I think that we could change the tone. I'm not mad at any of the commissioners. I think they want to serve the community, and they would like to all get along if there's just a way. And I think that seat, I was about to say, we don't know where the races will fall, but let's say we still have 2 and 2. My seat's a real great opportunity to bring some collaboration and peace, because no one's going to look at any issue and be like, well, this is a sure bet.
Yeah.
They're going to have to come talk to me to see, like, is this good for families? Is this good for the people of Tallahassee? In every regard. Bill Montford told me when it came down to issues where it was just like, man, I'm like 50 here, 50 there. We could go either way. There's not a bad. He would ultimately push back and say, is this good for children? So it could be an environmental issue. It could be an economic issue. It could be a public safety issue. It could be a Parks and Rec issue. And it's like, how do you go to the most important denominator? And it's the future of our community. And it's like, if it's good for them, that was maybe the grain of sand that tilted the scales. It's like, okay, let's move forward. But
I think it's a good reminder too, what you're doing, right? And
Mhm.
who you're serving, right? Are you,
Yeah.
you know, if you're constantly having to go back to, is this good for the kids or the community or,
It's not my seat.
yeah,
You are temporarily occupying that seat with a commission to serve. I don't serve the not the people who sent you there, right?
Yeah.
Favors, but to serve the people of Tallahassee. And one of the reasons that I don't know if we'll jump into this, but one of the reasons I wanted to serve was I'm very grateful for where I've landed in life. I came from a family where dad worked hard. Mom would work in the fall to save up money for Christmas. We learned how to mow lawns and be innovative. If there was a big fancy bicycle, you knew what you could ask mom and dad for. And you know what, just you couldn't, it was too much, right? And I have both my parents are alive and they're incredible, important parts of my life. And they gave us work ethic and the things that matter. And they always fed us and we had a great life. Things were good. But I'm living a life I never imagined. I'm married to a woman that I cannot believe. I have kids that are great. I'm in a house right here in Benton Hills on Trescott that I'm like, how do I live in this house? I can't believe it. I bet everything. I saved up money. I started a company with my business partner. Didn't take paychecks for a while. Hired one person, and I literally rolled the dice to try and make it happen. And I really feel like I'm living the American dream. And when I think about where I am, and what one of my grandparents always said was, you were given two hands. One should be plenty to help yourself, and the other is for service. It's that simple. And so when I'm moving about the community and I see people struggling with poverty in the Alice population, and I don't think it's okay. And the campaign issue, and it's okay. It's not on anybody's list. And it's not in any forum, is how we can be home to the poorest zip code in the state of Florida, have major gun violence issues, and then obsess over where the next neighborhood goes. I think as a community, we should be hyper focused on getting rid of that badge of dishonor. Like, we have the poorest people in Florida, and we don't talk about that every day. In every single commission meeting, we're not talking about how that is changing. We have people getting shot in our community every weekend.
Yeah.
And that isn't something that we are obsessing over. I'm meeting with the police chief every day. I'm calling special meetings. We have workshops. It's a complex issue, and I've been involved with it for 20 years. So you can say, well, you didn't solve it. It's hard. It is a complex issue. There's a lot of things that contribute to gun violence, as an example. But man, you will have people show up at City Hall if you're going to take down an oak tree.
Mm-hmm.
Think about that.
Yeah.
I'm not making fun of them, but they will get T-shirts printed and be there in force.
Yeah.
That damn tree. And then you could have 4 kids shot and killed in our community on the south side. It doesn't even make it. It's not even on the agenda.
Yeah.
There's not a spokesperson in the audience. And I think that's not okay. But,
So would you want to see more items come back, like when that happens, like kind of like a debriefing of it, or like
I would, one of the things, and this is where I think you have to be vulnerable and okay. I admired much of the way that Andrew Gillum brought the community together. He created the family-friendly task force, which he asked me to help out with. And we had nonprofits, private employers, because we have all the employees.
Yeah.
If you start the business, you have people working there. I wake up every month and have 20 mortgages that are mine. They're not. But I look and say, I can't fail this company. I have to make it work. I have to make the budget work. So he brought me to the table with nonprofits, with city and county and some people from the Department of Health and whatnot to say, what does a family-friendly work environment look like? And here's what's funny, how you always learn. I thought it had to do with kids, maternity leave, sick. If a kid can't go to school sick, how do we handle that employee? But I quickly realized we have an aging population. We have adults that are taking care of their parents, like full-time job.
Yeah.
So when your mom or dad has a doctor's appointment because they have dementia or they have some chronic disease and you can't go to work, being family friendly means considering that. We have a child with a disability of any kind. And this is where I get all tripped up. They're like, they're not called disabilities, they're called unique abilities. I will tell people all the time, I never want to offend anybody. I try to just speak plainly. If it's not called disability anymore, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But with families that are grappling with those kind of needs, what is a family-friendly work? So I thought the mayor did a nice job of bringing people together to do that. He built a gun violence committee. I also had the privilege of serving on with some other business owners and the police chief. And I just don't think we have citizens advisory committees. I've been on a few. I just don't see that kind of like public rally to address major issues.
Yeah.
Coach Sue from FSU women's basketball created a group called the First 12, and she was retired and had a desire to give back, to serve, and she just saw where her heart was, and people struggling with homelessness really moved her. So she started asking about who are the people that get things done in Tallahassee, and who's involved in homelessness, and who do I need to talk to? And I was like blown away that I was on the list, because I don't run the Carney Center, I don't have a homeless shelter, but they're like, Tom rallies people to get things done, and then all those other people are there. Mm-hmm. And so the first meeting only had 12 seats, so she just emailed everybody and said, who's going to go? And I tend to step forward. I was like, I'd like to learn about this. So I was sitting there, and she just called it the First 12. And for 2 years, she's been bringing nonprofits together on a monthly basis to learn from one another, to put together fundraisers, to share information. And the community is improving because one person listened to their heart and put it into action. And then she's a coach. She knows how to run a team, right. And she's like, let's go. So that was pretty cool. No, I'm sorry, I'm just talking all over the place here.
You're good. You're good. If you're just now joining, this is Florida Capital Team. My name is Anna Marie. I'm sitting down with Tom. Tom, what seat are you running for?
I'm running for Tallahassee City Commission seat 3.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we were talking about this a little bit, about how you talk about representing the neighbors, and being here for the community, mm-hmm. and that's your representation. I saw you mention that several times in the video, and you mentioned it tonight mm-hmm. as well. Can you talk a bit more and explain how you will accomplish this? And if you have been a champion of our voices already, can you tell us about those times?
Sure. The basic way I think you could look at it is that you need to appreciate the needs of the people that you're serving. You have to stay engaged. You have to be out in the world. I've quoted this 100 times on the campaign trail, but Jimmy Buffett has lyrics that I love, and it says, don't try and describe the ocean if you've never seen it. It's a great song. It's right in the middle of the song. And I love that because it's just so true. You know, you can read about the Alice population. You could talk about poverty. You could talk about what it's like to be a firefighter or a first responder. But if you haven't ridden in a patrol car, if you haven't been on a truck, the story I share with people is when I was serving the Red Cross, we did this thing called Sound the Alarm. And we had a grant from somebody to go to our poorest zip code and knock on doors on Saturday morning and make sure that those people had an active smoke detector in their home. Mm-hmm. And it's called Sound the Alarm. And what you do is you would pair up with a partner, usually another board member or volunteer. They give you a little wagon. They filled it with smoke detectors and information pamphlets and some clipboards, and you knocked on doors. Back to Jimmy Buffett. You've got to be in the neighborhoods that are struggling. You have to walk the street. You have to know what it sounds like. You have to see it. You have to touch it to understand it. Otherwise, it's just kind of like a data point, you know? Yeah. And when doing that, a few things I observed, I'll tell you. People who are struggling have been promised that it's going to get better their entire life. Generational poverty, particularly in the Black community, has been promised again and again by leaders after decades after decades after decades that there's going to be jobs, it's going to be better, it's going to be okay. So when I show up as a volunteer in a Red Cross vest and knock on the door and say, I'm here to help, they almost don't believe you. Yeah. You have to be like, no, seriously. I'm a volunteer. I'm not going to ask you for any money. We have smoke detectors and that little step ladder. We're going to install it right now. And then they, with a great deal of caution, like, all right, you can come inside. So now you're inside the home of someone and you see that you've got several generations of family living in a house that's probably 900 square feet, one bathroom. And I'll tell you, these families, there's a lot of love in that house. There's a lot of pride. They're clean. They care. I can tell you about my experiences, but this one morning changed my life. I'm sitting educating the adult. One of the jobs was to say, where's your exit plan? It's like a dry erase board and you show like windows you can get out. And my partner was in the hallway putting that up, the smoke detector up, and this little girl walked down the hall in the cutest pajamas. And I don't know if I was talking to great-grandmother, and then there was another young adult there that I think might have been the mother, but or the granddaughter, but there were little kids. There was a lot of people living here. This cute little girl walks in and she turns her back to me and walks into the kitchen and opens the fridge. She had her back to me. And she stood there for a little bit. And as a dad, my boys open the refrigerator and just stand there with it open. And I'm like, shut the refrigerator. You're letting all the cold air out. Like, what are you doing? What are you staring at? Get something. Don't you know what you want? And so my dad instinct kind of kicked in. So I'm talking, but I'm like, my urge to say, hey, shut the fridge is like, this is not my house, you know? And so I'm looking at, and then what I realized after literally a minute, I mean, that's a long time if you count to 60. After about a minute, I looked beyond her, and there wasn't no food in that refrigerator. This little girl woke up on a Saturday morning in our city, just wanting something to eat. Just wanting something to eat. Opens the refrigerator, and there's light and cold air, condiments. And she shut it and went back to play. And I remember thinking, how is this? We are not in a third world country. How are we not obsessively concerned about our neighbors? And I told Stephanie that day. I was like, so we decided to do what we thought we could do. I believe jobs are a great way to bring people out. I love that the Goodwill sells our old stuff and does training and creates jobs. So I followed my heart. I'm like, I want to make a difference. And then our family wrote a check to Second Harvest, and they're big. They have a big expansion. They were looking for people to commit a certain amount of money over years. So 5-year commitment. We felt like we gave till it hurt, you know. And I was like, okay, we're going to invest in making sure there's food, and I'm going to make jobs. So I've done that for years, and just what I see from a leadership, a vision, and a policy perspective in our community is these people are trapped. And until we grow our economy, until we bring good paying jobs here, and until we are all thriving, we got to get to work. And then you look at the commission, they can't get along. And I'm like, this is not okay. I came in the race in February, not because it was like a sneak move. I would move through the fall and the holidays, just loving and living my life and serving and doing what we do. And then my soul was uneasy with the state of things. And it's not that I believe there's bad candidates in the race. I did look. I'm like, but I've run a business. I have a life of experience of bringing people who don't get along together on boards, in the Navy, in my business, in clients. And I'm supremely confident that we can begin to work together again and move forward. And I just know how important that is to that little girl, period. Like, I have nothing to gain. Like, personally.
Yeah.
I'm outside the privilege and joy of serving and then being an example to my children. I think that's cool. But like, scores of meetings and lots of work are ahead. That's the prize. Yeah. After you do an enormous amount of work, just to hope you could go do the work.
To get there, yeah.
Yeah, that's the stunning thing to me. And I'll add too, and I understand, I think why they did it, but I didn't know that I thought there was pay. I thought there was like a stipend, like you got something. And I was asked, how much do you think the city commission, when I was running, I was like, oh, like 15 grand or 30 grand or something. And they said no. And I kept going up, and they said, like, now $99,000 a year. I mean, I don't know what everybody on the commission has made in their careers or my race or anything, but I suspect for some people that will be one of the highest paychecks they ever got. Yeah. I'm not disparaging that. It's very hard to make that amount of money. That's a lot of money. But I could tell you that you have got to be willing to make the right decision for the people and not special interest groups, even though it may mean they vote you out. And I have the ability and the capacity in my life to go there and just very sober-minded, without fear of being removed from office, just serve in a disciplined way and make the right decisions. And if we cut down that tree and they vote me out, then I go home. I'm okay. Job one may be to keep your job and like kind of wobble, and I don't wobble. Yeah. So I think that could be frustrating to people who are used to controlling politicians, because they're like, damn, how are we going to control him? Mm-hmm. You don't. Bring things that'll help the people of Tallahassee. Yeah. That'll work. I can get behind that. You can count on me all the time.
So you mentioned the Navy, and I know that when I was looking at your website, I saw that you had served. how do you feel like your military contributed to your outlook on life and your individual values?
Yeah,
And
sure.
how do you think, like, how do you feel like you can bring any of that experience, I guess, into the city commission as well?
Yeah, on a few levels. I would say I've seen the world, and it's a big old world, and it taught me that people are beautiful, even people that believe differently than you, that worship differently than you, that experience life differently than you, that we are all having the human condition, the human experience in our own unique way. That was important exposure. Uh, when you're standing next to the Colosseum or, other old stuff, you realize that we are an infant country. We're having our 250th. I just think like Great Britain and China must chuckle. It's like our first birthday. You know what I mean? I'm very proud of it, man. I love the United States. I love our country. I'm proud. I have a flag in my front yard. But having been around the world, I'm like, oh, that's cute. They're 250 years old. How sweet. But we have to remember that this is an experiment, and that government and governance at the local level and listening to the people and their power to vote and be heard is part of that 250-year experience. And we've grown. We've done bad things as a country, and hopefully we've learned and improved and we move on. But so recognizing these things on a global discipline and focus, doing hard things, working hard was very much a part of that experience. I was a Navy corpsman, a medic in the Navy, so I saw what some would say were gross things or difficult things. And I've told my friends, people have asked me like, well, how do you feel about firefighters? How do you feel about first responders? How do you feel about this or that? And what I could tell you from my experience is they choose to put on the uniform just like I did. And I was proud to do so. It's one of the loves of my life is looking back at serving this country and putting on that uniform. And I miss it. I tried to put it on one Halloween.
Didn't fit anymore.
Oh man, it wasn't even close. Because it's a crack. I was enlisted, so cracked. I couldn't even get it over my bag on the head and the shoulders. So it was kind of funny to watch me wiggle out of that thing. But what I can tell you is the people who wear the uniform in our community are great public servants. They can positively count on my support as a commissioner, unwavering, because what I know that they know that the people watching this just don't know is when you put your friend in a body bag or you're in a car accident and you take a child out who's not survived, there's a human being that does that. There's not a robot. Yeah. You cut that car apart. We had a helicopter crash. I had some experiences that were impactful. And those memories visit you on their own schedule. Yeah. Sometimes when you're alone, sometimes at night, sometimes driving. When I get on an aircraft and I smell jet fuel, it reminds me of a mishap I was at. And you have to move on. You have to shake it off. But I know that the men and women that will run into a burning building or pull up to that car accident and see unimaginable things, they deserve our respect and they deserve to be compensated and I want to have the very best people in our city. And I want to be able to say, we paid these heroes among the highest in the country. Yeah. And some people are like, oh, that's insane talk. Then you put people in a body bag.
I agree.
So
I mean, that's where the page got started, was because of the firefighter pay. So
I think that's my behalf. I heard that issue going on. As a citizen, I've always paid attention, that. And I'm like, hey, what's going on with this thing? I saw a post you post. Sounds like she's tracking something here. And I didn't understand the issue. I'm like, what? And then what elected officials no, they'll be mad at me if I increase first responder pay. There's nobody. There's not a citizen in Tallahassee who's like, I can't believe they're paying firefighters this much.
Yeah.
It's insane. What I discovered is that people are vindictive. Mm-hmm. If the firefighters supported the other candidate, then
that's exactly what happened.
Then that's what you get. And they'll show you statistics. And it's like, well, we did a study, comparable studies, and blah, blah. I will sit in the dais every time and call bull on that. I'm like, nope. This is not okay. And they play funny math. with like the newest people got up, the older than they had this package. It's like stop messing with people's lives and their careers and their livelihoods.
Yeah, and we lost a lot of really good firefighters during that time period. You know,
I was knocking on a door, and one of our retired firefighters, I wish I could remember his name. He's a black man, awesome man. He still looked like a firefighter. I was like, you're not still. He's like, nah, I've been retired for a while. But we stood there talking about that, and he says we can't get people to come here.
Yeah.
He goes, he's proud of the boys and the men and women who are serving now. It's like, we have good people. He goes, but when we put out recruiting campaigns, because they go to Jacksonville, he goes, they go to our rural communities and make more money than Tallahassee.
Yeah.
That's not okay. It's not okay.
I agree.
I don't know. It's easy, and I'll tell you, and the only thing I can tell you is, like, if you want to know who my buddies are that put on the uniform, I don't want to mention the names and embarrass them here, but reach out, ask them, how's Tom always felt about this? It's easy to be a candidate for office and say, we're going to have new parks and plant new flowers and pay the firefighters and all the things, but you can't have all the things. But what you can have is take care of the critical core things. And if this property tax deal goes down, that can't be an excuse not to pay these people who are doing this job. Nope.
I agree.
Don't bring me that budget.
I agree.
So sorry, I get fired up about something. But you got to be passionate. You don't just stumble into this race and like, this is easy. You have to have something that you're like, that little girl needs food in the refrigerator. Firefighters and first responders need to be taken care of. We cannot have crime in our community like we do, and we must stimulate our economy.
Well, the one thing too is we might all have different reasons to get involved in following the government, following politics.
But look at you now.
But we might have all different reasons, but in a way they're kind of all the same. We all have a problem, right? Mm-hmm. And we need representatives who are going to represent all of our problems.
Sure.
You know, my problem to get me started in this was the firefighter pay.
Right.
But we do need representation that just because it's not a firefighter issue, someone still cares.
Sure.
About everybody.
Yeah. I'm on the board at Winthrop Park, which is right here near my office. My home's right behind the building. I could almost hit it with a baseball if I had a better arm. And I got on the board because I was a coach. And when you're the coach, you show up early, and I had the early game. So I pulled up the field about 5 o'clock, and I parked at Winthrop Park. You park nose up, like bang, the field's right there, 20 feet away. And I pulled up, and the city staff was out there, and they were mowing. There was a gentleman in the dugout blowing it out. There was a guy putting lines down. And I just watched it, and I was like, that is what government is supposed to do.
Yeah. Is
set the field for play. And then they got out of the way. Mm-hmm. In the teams, which I'd say private industry, citizens, volunteers stepped into the concession and made hot dogs.
Yeah.
Volunteer coaches mentored and coached. The kids competed. The base paths were the same distance for each team. Yeah. The field, the lights came on. But the city made sure there was light and dirt and lines. And then I think there are times that you have to get out of your own way. Don't be scared of your own shadow. And I think we could see an example of this with our economic development recently. It's not something we can brag about. And so people want to be critical of the individuals in the seats. But I would tell you is I've met some of those individuals, and they are smart and good, hardworking people. But back to baseball, if I said, talk to Keith over and said, hey, Keith, we need you to hit economic home runs and bring industry here. And he's like, absolutely, let's go. He builds an incredible team. He's ready to do the job. I'm like, whoa, hold on a second. We need to tie this hand behind your back. We'll call that permitting. And then put your foot in that bucket of concrete. We're going to call that like environmental issues or policy or NIMBY. Mm-hmm. And then, we're going to critique the hell out of your performance because you haven't hit a home run in a while. I think we need to not be afraid to explore industry and ideas that could move that little girl's family forward, could create more revenue for our parks and recreation, could bring new people to lead in our community. I've been on every board. I see a lot of the people on the same boards. I'm like, we need more leadership. We need more volunteers.
I agree with that.
The same people. I helped run Canteens and Camo, our fundraiser for the Red Cross. And the same people are being asked for money. Every business, my company, the hospital, the plumber, the electrician, They're getting shaken down for money by the community all the time, which is one of the things that infuriates me when I'm in environments that seem to be like anti-success. I don't know how else to call it, but they're like mad at, like me. I had one of my opponents in the race say, well, I'm for the employer. I'm for the worker, not the big money. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I got out of the Navy with like literally a few $100s in my name, and I bought a lawnmower so that I could pay my bills because I had a problem with my GI Bill. Like, I've been super broke. I've clawed my way up. I have 20 mortgages I'm responsible for. And what people need to remember is if you really feel that way, if the man is keeping you down, the industry or whatever, then just please don't ask us to sponsor your little league, your ballet, your symphony, your kids' school. You go out and protest the system, but then you love to take from it. And the people who start businesses are passionate about what they do. They care deeply about their employees. There are bad people everywhere. There's probably some terrible, bad, rich, business owners that take advantage of their employees. The people that I'm exposed to on a regular basis care about their company, their people, their community. They write checks to Second Harvest, to TSC, to the Symphony. I could just go on, to the animal shelter. The private industry in our community is very, very, very important. And I think we should help it thrive. And that would go a long way.
Well, it actually ties into one of the other questions. We can pause real quick with these questions because we actually have someone who asked a question.
Okay.
How would you meaningfully engage residents and those facing housing instability and housing policy decisions?
Oh, man. So I'm reading a book.
Question.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I want to make sure. I hate a candidate who will like go all around it and be like, gee, you didn't answer my question. I'm reading a book.
I'm curious if you need to refer.
Okay, yeah. And I got my old man glasses. I'm reading a book by Ezra Klein called Abundance. Mm-hmm. And it's really, really incredible. Get that book, Abundance, read it. And I'm actually listening to the audio because he's got a great voice. He's an author. He's a writer for the New York Times, obviously an author. Brilliant mind. And he's walking through a lot of these environmental issues and permitting issues. And I'm unpacking in this book and doing my own research too, but seeing that, a lot of our people don't realize a lot of the policies with regard to permitting and restrictions and zoning started in California, and their origins were in race. They did not want a duplex next to their neighborhood because that was lower rent, and they didn't want those people, either those blacks or those Mexicans, living near them. And then it became a very useful tool to just protect what you had. The people of Tallahassee who are for very strict permitting and very tight zoning are not racist, but it has become a useful weapon to protect your square. So we'll say, we got to have affordable housing. We need to help people. This is not okay. And affordability is an issue. And we're like, okay, awesome. We have all these empty lots throughout town. We're going to like, whoa, we need you to fix it, but like someplace else. Don't fix it here. Right. Mm-hmm. So we need to take a deep breath and a real look at this and say, do we care about affordability? Something that I hope people will hear, and I don't know if your audience is liberal, progressive, or conservative, but I hope
we are Tallahassee.
We are Tallahassee. Good. One of the things I hope people will hear is that I met with the Builders Association. I don't have their endorsement. I went to their luncheon and introduced myself. I'd love their endorsement. Love your endorsement. Love your endorsement. Actually, I'd rather have your votes. So, but I was in that meeting and I said, talk to me about this permitting issue. And I heard a few funny examples. I want to share two pieces of information with you. One, the big companies, and I'm not speaking against large developers if you're building 1,000 homes at once or two, but the larger companies have the capacity to put up with the city's bullcrap. They have staff engineers, or they have built into the volume of this project that they have to keep submitting plans and jumping through hoops and like back and delays. They work it out. They have the capacity to. But that also invites, you can see it in Ohio, North Carolina, it started in California. It invites major builders, national builders in. They have all the lawyers in the world. They'll just lawyer you right into submission. Okay.
We have DR Horton Homes
coming. Yeah, or happening. Yes. All right. So let me tell you this. Be careful what you wish for. Because what you're actually doing is driving out the developers that were building 5 houses at a time, or 1, or maybe a small neighborhood with 30 homes in it. You won't let them do that project, but Horton will roll in here and they will remove all those trees and build their neighborhood. And they have the lawyers and the time and the patience to do it. Whereas the builders I know in town, and I'll protect people's names because I don't want to embarrass anybody, but they are passionate about their craft. They went to high school here. They started a company out of their truck. They now have a small crew. They're building a couple homes a year. And it is hell for them to do anything. Yeah. They don't have enough money to go back to the draftsman, back to the architect, back to permitting, back to back to back. And if they speak up, it's punitive. It's like, oh, we have 15 days to respond. They have the answer in 2, but they just wait till about day 15. All the while, that small business in our community who's paying interest on the loan for the construction that he's taken, clock's ticking. He needs to sell that home. And so we will run them out of business. And then you will have major developers in here that will lawyer you right over the cliff. And so I think we need to take a fresh look at how we are not fearful of development, how we can do it smartly. The second part of this, I'm not sure I answered the question, but the second piece of this I want to tell you is I met with a developer who's doing some work in Southwood, and out where the old home is, there's some land around it. He could put like 30 cottages in there, and he did like 13 because it looked better. And while I was out there, and he was giving me a tour of the place, an armadillo ran across, and there was a deer eating somebody's flowers, and I'm like, this is cool out here. And he goes, I want to show you some insanity. Because we actually were meeting at Canopy Cafe in the little city center. And I said, give me an example. I need to be able to tell people. Because if I tell you or the listener permitting's a problem, you're like, okay, what does that mean? I don't know what it means. It's hard, a lot of paperwork, it takes time, it's expensive. What does it mean? He said, let me show you exactly what it means. He takes me out there, and he had this majestic, beautiful oak tree. I don't think all of us could get our arms around it. We know 3 people. Drooping and huge, sprawling, moss, quintessential Tallahassee beauty. And he had a cottage here and on that side of it. And he purposefully built it so that it could be a part of the experience and the environment. And he built other homes. And it wasn't efficiently done. He could have, the end of the story, it's Quebec, he could have removed the tree and gone, ching, 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 ching. And I guarantee you the big developers, it's like, how much can we get per inch, per foot, per yard, per acre, per ching, ching, ching? And it's the bottom line. He wanted something special because he cares. And I said, well, so what's the problem with that? He goes, because that house is close to that tree, I had to pay for killing that tree. I said, what? The tree's fine. It's beautiful. He goes, someone put in code that if it's this close, you've killed it. And he goes, I don't know when that tree's going to die. It'll be another 500 years. I don't know. That's insanity. That is, you have literally someone that wants to keep this beautiful tree. And he said the bigger developers just pay that, let's say it's $1,000. They just pay the tree fine, take it down. And he said it was actually harder to build because when you're positioning the cranes, he goes, I put a fence around it, protected it, and it wasn't really easy to do it this way. But when you look at the finished product, it's what everybody wants. And that's a small example of the ridiculousness. A gentleman named Skip Foster has a page called Red Tape Florida, and he unpacked a story about the little bookstore in Midtown. Wanted to bump out like 400 square feet or just more bookshelves. Super cool. Bought the land next door where Waterworks was, and then make them put in like this gigantic area for water that was never there. A bike rack nobody's going to use in a position nobody would even use it, and then improve a sidewalk that it would have been the only 20 feet of sidewalk that was improved for the whole stretch of the road. You almost price progress out. I think that's the kind of stuff that discourages people, and they just throw in the towel. But who doesn't throw in the towel are the big corporations who come to town. So I think it's time to bring people around the table. We have environmental groups and builders and let them talk. Sitting in that meeting with the builders, I thought, I've also met with environmentalists. I was like, man, y'all will get along so well. I mean, legitimately, they're not, we don't need to look at one another as opponents or enemies or the bad guys or greedy. I just think there's so much we could do together if we could just sit and talk. and understand a little bit.
Well, I mean, that kind of goes into like the city commission, right? Where you have an environmentalist who says, I really like to keep the trees. Well, then you could have a developer who says, well, let's build something around,
Yeah.
around that tree. And
Everybody would say, what? Why are you doing that? And they're like, I don't know. It's in this, that nobody could really follow. The park in Southwood that the city built themselves took almost 2 years to get permitted.
Wow.
How do you not even be able to go through your own process? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, you actually know everybody. You'd be like, hey, Bob, can you like,
You just like push it through.
like what? How does that work? Engage residents in the facing housing, those facing housing instability and housing policy decisions. I want to make sure I answer this. I believe that expanding the inventory of housing, and I like the idea of urban infill. I own a small home on Brevard Street in Frenchtown, and I cut through all the neighborhoods every time I'm going anywhere. There is an abundance of lots available to build on. And those neighborhoods belong to the people who've lived there. They should reap the benefit of enjoying that housing, of being able to move in there, move out of government housing into Frenchtown, into a beautiful home. And so I think we have quite a bit of capacity inside our city limits, inside the core, to do some really interesting development. You see some of that happening like behind Ology and Bella Bella. You have like Adams and Duval, and you see these spritz and fits of refreshing, rebuilding, and refining, and keeping kind of the personality of the neighborhood in play. But this is like economics, man. And the story I would tell this person about my house on Brevard, if I get $1,100 a month to rent it and someone leaves to move out to the fancy new apartment because they got a pool and a gym, economics put pressure. So I'll put a listing for rent on Facebook for about 2-3 weeks. No calls. It just became $1,000 a month. No calls. It just became $950. The capacity to just carry things isn't there. So private business responds. And then you get down to $950, $900, boom, I got a tenant. I'm like, oh, thank God. Because I'm paying that mortgage. I'm paying that utility bill. I'm paying that insurance. I'm paying those taxes. I can't have an empty building sitting there. So you start to scale and you're like, okay, that's the threshold. 950 is where it's at. I got a family in there. We're good to go. But if capacity is always, if supply is low, right, and there's not much to choose from, you can ask for whatever you want. And I think that's part of the pressures we have in Tallahassee. Matters.
Welcome to Florida Capital T. If you're just now joining, my name's Anna Marie. I'm sitting down with Tom. Tom, what seat are you running for?
Tallahassee City Commission, seat 3, right here in beautiful Tallahassee.
So moving on through the questions, we do have a lot of local small businesses that are struggling. We kind of touched a little bit on the small businesses and the developers even.
Sure.
And sadly, we've been seeing these small businesses close. What is your perspective of the local economy, and what do you think you can do?
Chick-fil-A, man. And I'm not talking about Chick-fil-A as a business. I'm talking about a Chick-fil-A level of customer service from the city to small business. You got a problem? How can we help you? What's going on with that? How can we help you? You trying to get open on time? You need to get a CO for that building. You need to get the fire marshal out there. You need to get this done. How can we help you? Because every single day is costing that small business owner money. And they are just as, you know them. I don't know. It's so weird in this community sometimes. So like the business is like this dun dun dun, like a business owner or industry or the establishment. Or I'm like, what are you talking about, man? We're opening the cafes you love, you know? Oh, well, we like those. I'm like, well, then which ones don't you like? I'm like, with the big ones. Well, what? So what I would tell people is have a city where speed, efficiency, and customer service to the business community is up front and it's obvious. And the reason I say Chick-fil-A is because you go there and you say, thank you. And what do they say?
My pleasure.
My pleasure, right? That didn't happen. They didn't just like, I'm going to say Hamilton. No, it was top down. City manager, assistant city managers, down through every division, a spirit of helping people get things done and prosper in our community is what we are here to do. We're here to line that baseball field, make sure those lights come on, make sure that dugout was blown out, and then get out of the way as fast as we can. And that will help small businesses. Second piece of that is you and me. Remember when Miracle Plaza, we all here for that?
Yeah.
The movie theater that was in Midtown, the Benton Hills area. God, when they tore that down, you would have thought they murdered somebody. And I was out with friends one time, and I was like, I can't believe that. That place is awesome. I remember they're going on. And I was like, seriously, dude, when was the last time you went to a movie there? And don't lie. And nobody could remember. So small businesses will not thrive. They're not just there for decoration in case you stumble into that bookstore, right? You need to keep that bookstore in business. You need to make an effort to say, hey, it's Saturday. I'm going to meet my friends for a coffee. Let's grab our coffee and go to the bookstore. I'm on Amazon. I'm like, I'm going to order. I'm like, no, I wonder if they have it at the bookstore. Mm-hmm. Get off your butt. All these brown packages showing up. Some small business somewhere sent it to you, but not ours, right? So I think that you have to, if you really want to support it. People were like beside themselves when they tore down what I called like a kind of an ugly bank on the, I'm probably losing votes right now, but it like Blairstone and the Parkway, there was this old brick bank and it was from the 50s. It's called like the Confederate Bank or something. I'm like, this is bad, I think, right? But I never thought it fit there. There's a Kohl's right behind it. It's not like a landmark. It's on the Parkway. Across the street, you have Dick's and BJ's, and then Capital City Bank put a really beautiful new office on the opposite corner. And then on the other side, you have a dying mall. And they tear down this old building, and people are like clutching their pearls over it. And I'm like, what? Did you ever step foot in that building? Did you bank there? Did you support the business over there? I'm like, no, we just like looking at it. I'm like, well, that's not how things survive, you know? So if you want local businesses to grow and survive and thrive, seek them out and spend your money with them. Yeah. You know, that's what I would say. I wish I had a shop.
Shop local.
Shop local. Do so, yeah.
So absolutely. What is your favorite local business?
Well, I like to eat food. So I really like Savor downtown. I love a good hot dog. Well, they should their location on the south side. Dog it all. My favorite, like, man, I'm going to eat some lunch where I need a nap after. Go to Olean's, and the collards and the fried chicken is like, I just look at it when they give it to me. I'm like, I'm killing myself right now. And if I have any kind of meetings that afternoon, I'm like, I can't eat there because it just puts me in a food coma. I got a lot of favorite places I love to eat. I do love Midtown Readers. I just walk into that place. It's so cute. They have an incredible selection. I take my grandkids there. That's a really neat experience for them to see a bookstore. Yeah. And they enjoy it. They sit Indian style, you know, and read a book. And then they have authors there occasionally and cool little events like that. So those are probably some of my quick favorites, you know. Watering holes, places to eat. We need to remember too, chains employ our people, and oftentimes are owned by a local person that opened the smokehouse or the wherever you get the smoky sandwiches from, the franchise or the, you know, Welcome to Moe's. That's a local person that invested their money and they're employing people, so they're not bad. But I think we got some good places to eat for sure.
We do.
Now I'll tell you, when I came here in 2001 out of the Navy, you had like 2 fancy restaurants or 3. There were no breweries. The only places to go and hear live music really were the Craftville Blues Club, which was awesome, or the Strip. Yep. Like either a college student, you got that, or you had to hunt it down. We have a thriving live music scene, a thriving arts community. Our food game is on point. I travel for work to Greenville and Charlotte and Austin and these towns. I'll put Tallahassee up against these places from an eating perspective. We've got multiple breweries. We've got some cool little wine spots. Tallahassee has all the cool ingredients, man. I just need to start acting like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Like you're cool. Be cool, you know?
You can set the pool table. Come
yeah.
All right. So I think we might have time for maybe one more question.
Sure.
There is one more question.
Okay.
I'm not going to write it down. The question is...
That's my favorite color, blue. I love that. I do like blue.
Development creates wealth, but much of that wealth appears to accumulate among a relatively small group of property owners, investors, and well-connected interests. Do you believe Tallahassee's current growth model is creating enough opportunities for working-class residents to build wealth and ownership, not simply through employment? Or is most of the economic upside being captured by existing stakeholders and outside investors? If so, why?
This is easy.
If not, what would you change?
I got a 13-point question for you. I would say you have some businesses that have been in business for over 100 years. There are some family names who have owned large tracts of land or originally owned land and were able to sell it and build neighborhoods. The big developers started off with a truck, right? And grew their business. So I don't like to take a broad stroke against the size of a company and be like, well, there must be villains. They're boxing people out. What I can tell you is my dear friend Kyle Rockwell owns a painting company called Marlin Coatings. Nobody's ever heard of them. And there are 20 other business owners. I think part of that question was, how can they participate in the wealth? How can they do? Well, one thing I'm really proud to be a part of is the mission of Lively. And I just watched a bunch of young men and women graduate the HVAC program. And they're going to be busting their tail. And then some of them will have the discipline to continue at Tallahassee State College and get their associate's degree, get a little bit of business knowledge, a little bit of mentorship. Some of them will do exceptional work. Some of them will be the ones that get called all the time. And some people will say, well, they're in the good old boy network. I think maybe actually that young man studied his ass off, worked his tail off, studied at night, got his additional certificates, started picking up extra jobs, didn't buy the big truck and the fancy toys that his friends had, kept it. And then what appears to be instant success was 10 or 20 years of building the company. And now they have the big house and the big truck and 25 employees and the beach house and their boat. And people are like, the sleeve is just on the inside. He's been on the inside, it was ground floor, and working your way up to that success. And I believe we live in a community. I sincerely believe in this. If you will educate yourself, be the master of your craft, show up every day and do it exceptionally well, be disciplined with your money, and treat people well, you will be successful. I've owned this company for 16 years. I had no money in the beginning, and I have no money now. I'm doing okay now. But they're super lean years, super sacrifice, where I could have bought the new toy or hired the next employee, but having the vision to say, no, man, no, you can't buy that art yet, right? You gotta wait. You can't do that yet. There are things I want, I can't buy. I'll tell you right now, what matters is when you open my fridge, it is top to bottom full of food for my family to eat. So the basics are covered. I couldn't tell you how much I got. And people say, oh, see, he's an elitist. I couldn't tell you how much a gallon of milk costs. But what I can tell you, I have lived and I remember distinctly Winn-Dixie having a calculator on their buggies. And I'm looking and then trying to guess tax. Like, is it like 6%? How do you do that? 0.06? I was like screwing it up. And I remember knowing how much money I had to buy groceries for my family that week, period. And I remember walking by the soda or the beer going, not today. Next time. I remember my daughter is 30 going, Daddy, you popsicle, or in the line where they have all the candy just reaching. And I'm like looking at the calculator. I'm like, I had $60. I don't think I did the tax right. I've put stuff back, and like, doot, doot, doot. And you're like, hey, you know what? And you lie because I'm proud. I'm like, I think I got that at home. Can I put that back? But it's because I have $60 in my pocket. So if you will get in and work hard and do those things, you will make your way. You live in a country that presents more opportunity than it's ever presented to humans ever, period. Europe still has class systems, all kinds of stuff going on. Different cultures on different continents have different ways. There are people born that have no chance in some countries. They're just born in the wrong family and they're cooked. They can just work in the job that their dad had. But in America, there is no excuse for you to succeed. If you don't succeed, it is because you have not put in the work, or you've made some decisions personally that are hindering your ability to reach your full potential. And it could be a DUI, it could be a failed marriage, it could be an addiction, it could be a mental health issue, it could be things that the human experience we really struggle with. Should never belittle these people that are battling these battles, but some people are not able to reach their full potential for a myriad of reasons. My daughter got married very young, and she won't be embarrassed for me to say this, but she got pregnant, got married, had a kid, had a young, rocky relationship. Their finances were a hot mess. But not because society did anything to them. They made a series of galactically stupid decisions, like going to a buy here, pay here car lot and getting 18% interest on a car that was never worth what they paid in the first place with their tax return. Momentary pleasure. And I'm like, got it. Prevents people from moving forward. So I would say that to young men and women out there that want to be successful in our community, there's not an elite group boxing you out. Nobody is preventing hard work from succeeding here. And also nobody is giving it to you. There may be 5 families in town that their kids are born into it and they get their thing. You know, I don't know who they all are, but I think that you can move yourself forward in this community. You can go up and get your law enforcement training. You can hopefully we'll be able to pay firefighters well someday, and you can go become a firefighter and be a firefighter. They'll hire you in a minute. Our public utilities hire you in a minute, but you got to have some skills. And you got Lively and TSC and the Goodwill and other organizations would be glad for you to come sit in their class. And I'm on the TSC Foundation where we raise money year after year after year to make sure you can just come to school without financial burden, just for free. Wow. If you want to be a nurse, you want to be a nurse tech, you want to be a rad tech, you want to be a phlebotomist, let's go. TMH, FSU Health, HCA, hire you right now. But the only thing in your way is you. So some people want to really be upset with some forces in nature that are holding them down. I'd say just like splash water in your face and look in the mirror, get to work. And somebody's going to hear this and say, you don't know the trauma I've had. You don't know the deck that was stacked against me. You don't know what I experienced as a child. And to them, I say, I'm deeply sorry. And I believe you. And I believe it's affecting your ability to move forward. And I hate that. And I wish there was something that we could collectively do as a society to make that better for you. It's not that I'm not empathetic. It's just that I don't look around the city blaming people for my lot in life. I don't know who the silver spoons are, but good for them. We just found out Musk is worth $1 trillion this week. They're like, doesn't that make you sick? I'm like, I don't know. I know what I would do with it. We would just feed every human on the planet forever. But that's me. But you didn't take anything from me. The fuel prices I pay, my rent, the things I control in my life, where I live, what I do, how much money I make, how hard I work, where I spend my money, if I waste my money, if I save it, if I invest it, if I have discipline or I'm loose. Elon Musk didn't do that to me. I don't know. It's just go on and on about this stuff, but I firmly really believe in each person's individual to live to their fullest potential. I see it every day when I'm working at the Goodwill. People have different levels of cognitive ability, and they might have a physical disability or something they're dealing with in life from a mental health perspective. And they are working and thriving and happy as could be. Proud to come to work. Greatest customer service, grateful for their job, saving their money, being mentored, living independent. It's awesome. I was at the Press Cafe down at Independence Landing. Amazing lunch. Press Cafe, Independence Landing. Go there every day. But you will not believe the quality of the food is amazing. It is incredible. It's like a boutique cafe in New York City or something. Like, what is happening here? Where is this food coming from? It was awesome. And everybody there is living and working at Independence Landing. Thanks to folks like Allison Tant and I think Loran and some others were a part of kind of making that happen in a big way, some state funding and bringing people together. But that's a great example of like, those kids are walking around with an excuse, mad at the world. They're like happy as hell to be at work. Kid taking my money at the counter was real funny. His gift evidently is like just speaking, like whatever he's thinking. And I was wearing my campaign name tag, and it's disproportionately, it says Tom, because it's my brand right now. Because my last name, Derzypolski, is like crazy long. But he looks at it and goes, well, the proportional size of that name to that tag is something I've never seen before. What would you like for lunch? It was just like he saw it, he said it, and I was like, well, thank you. And Barbie, who's running the place down there, had warned me. She goes, we're working on with his customer service, but he was the smartest, happiest kid I've ever met. And he was glad to take my order. He brought the food, top-notch service, and it was great. Sorry, I can do this all day, man. I love talking to people. Yeah, if you call me as a commissioner, we're going to sit down and talk. You got to make time because we're going to talk.
All right. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Awesome.
I appreciate it. If you want to check out his website, it's linked in the comments. You can go check it out there. And well, that's a wrap.
Awesome.